You'll have to forgive the background noise today because it's a very hot day. We're in the start of the Australian summer. So I've got the aircon on, makes a bit of noise. Hopefully that doesn't show in the video too much. All right, let's get started. So today's topic is one of the ones that I was sort of thinking about whilst I was doing some administration for my business, which is that if you're a creative and you're either running something like what I have, which is a small studio, or you're essentially a freelancer, so let's say you're like a film composer or an illustrator who does stuff freelance for other companies, you're going to be a bit surprised by what your day-to-day workload is, because I'm sure you probably envisioned when you first started doing this, or when you studied it at university, or perhaps when you dreamt of it whilst you were in school, that let's use composer as an example, that if you're a composer, you're spending most of your time composing music, or if you're an illustrator, you're spending most of your time illustrating. This is generally not the case for almost all kind of freelance or independent creatives. You'll probably find that you're spending about half your time doing other things that, whilst are related, aren't necessarily the craft that you expected to be doing. And in many ways, I actually think that's a good thing. When we're young, we envision ourselves in certain careers because we enjoy doing them. Like, for example, let's say you enjoyed composing or you enjoyed drawing, then you kind of dream that you can just turn that into your job and then you never work a day in your life because you enjoy it so much. And that's really great if you're able to achieve that. However, because of the realities of the world and how things work, that will rarely, if not never, be the case. If anything, that's probably more the case for people who work in-house. So let's say you're an animator and you work for an animation company, then most of your time will be spent animating. But when you're a freelancer or you own a small business like I do, there's a lot of other bits that must be done to keep your craft afloat. So for example, I'll now go back to video games a bit. In my case, there's obviously the business side of things. So marketing, taxes, budgeting and planning and stuff like that. Now, fortunately, I do enjoy these things, and it's not so bad because I don't do that much of it. So before and after a project, there's the choosing of the project, pre-production, budgeting, and stuff like that. A lot of business decisions, and at the end there's pricing, discounts, and stuff like that. Then in between, obviously, you've got quarterly reports, taxes, stuff like that. And it's okay, it doesn't occupy that much of my time, but then other things mount on. For example, like, I think marketing definitely has a certain art to it, so I don't consider it part of the business administration side of things. So for example, every game needs a trailer. We make them ourselves, especially now that there's a lot of good apps and software to help somebody who has rudimentary video editing skills, which I have from back in school, and to be able to make a basic trailer. You might ask why we don't pay a professional, and that's because we used to, but then they did some studies on Steam activity, on what the average buyer, and most buyers don't like to watch the trailers that much because they feel that the trailers are misleading. Of course, we still put effort. We like to make them as good as we possibly can within our means. But upon the discovery that, a lot of people who are buying on Steam actually cancel the initial video and then move on straight to the screenshots, the initial description, and then down to read some of the reviews, we decided that that's probably where we put a bit more effort. We put a bit more effort on the box art, because that's something that they definitely look at, and we really try to make sure that the copy is excellent. And that's what I mean by how marketing is a bit of an art. Whilst it is definitely a part of business, it is a bit of an art, so I don't consider it the same. There's still a lot of creativity involved. So there's a lot of that. Like I said, copywriting, designing the box art, and just regular marketing as well, like creating posts on social media and just getting word of mouth out about the game. So there's that as well. The other thing is maintenance of your equipment, because if you don't have this stuff, you can't make what you make. And it might not seem so obvious, but sometimes just doing what's necessary to maintain your equipment or keeping the systems that keep you in business going, you have to put the time in, because if you don't, something catastrophic will happen eventually. Just Murphy's Law. It's nice to think that our computers will last forever, our phones will last forever, and that everything will be hunky-dory, but that's rarely the case. I don't think we live yet at the technological level where we can have that, and who knows if that's ever really possible. A classic example is, make sure you back up your computer all the time and get a really good solid external hard drive that's, that has its own plug, something that's really sturdy. And if possible, then have a second place where you also back up your files. So have it in, a cloud or something like that. It's just the smart thing to do, because crashes will happen. Or, this software, game engines aren't used by as many people as people who use video games, and software is a lot more complex. So even if you get something really good, like and famous, like Unity or something like that, or Unreal, it can still crash. And sometimes you may have put in a day's work and suddenly it goes without you realizing. And also something might happen to your computer. You just never really know. And same goes with equipment, like phones, headphones, cables. Like just storing your cables the right way makes a massive difference. Especially like let's say the MacBook Pro cable. If it's not stored properly, it has the habit of fraying in and out on the sides. Once it's frayed, it doesn't work anymore. A new one costs $85. Ever since I've started maintaining mine, it's been a good 7 years since I last bought one. So it's really, and it might not sound like it makes that much of a difference, but just maintaining everything you have in general and putting in the time, and making sure you clean it regularly and just really take care of it, it really saves you a lot of money. And on a day that you break something that you didn't take care of, you sort of realize if you just put in a little bit of effort here and there, it would have made a difference. Now, the other thing I want to talk about in terms of putting time into something that you might not necessarily consider practicing your craft is learning new things. It might feel, especially if you studied something in university, that you're already at a very good level, or if you've additionally worked a few years in the industry. But it is worth getting new ideas, even from people that you might not consider the same experience level as yourself. So I definitely watch YouTube videos about music production, even from like really young people who are starting out, because a lot of them have fresh ideas that I hadn't considered before, and also a lot of them are better at the new technologies in music production or video game development that I'd never really looked at or never considered before. And I really think it's worth committing close to an hour every day in terms of learning new skills or just watching content that gives you new ideas. And so, for example, one thing that I've done is that I've sliced out an hour of any time that I spend in the day watching something, be it on like Netflix or Disney Plus, and instead I committed to watching these video tutorials by people to just learn new skills and get new ideas. Because you'll find that the longer you're in this, the more you start expending your ideas, and once you're living off this full time, there's no waiting for inspiration. You sort of have to keep delivering. That's the thing. You become, in many ways, I consider myself more of a craftsman than an artist, because I have to deliver really, really often to stay alive, like to just stay in business, to be profitable, to be able to feed myself, pay rent, etc. There's no dawdling about going, oh, I'm waiting for this brilliant idea, I'm waiting for my magnum opus. Once you're working at this full time, you have to create a system where, like I said, you're doing other things like maintaining your equipment and doing the business side, but also just delivering on your craft regularly. And in many ways, I'd say it's a good thing to be doing these other things, because then the moments that you are doing your craft, you know you have to deliver, you focus up, and in my opinion, you make better things. So yeah, I hope that was useful. I hope that's some inspiration, maybe some kind of knowledge that I can pass towards those creatives of you that, a poor ending, but anyway, creative people that are doing this sort of thing, and how to manage the realistic life aspects of your craft whilst also doing your craft. All right, cheers. Thank you.